Thank you very much. We'd like to get started. We've called this press conference to announce the conclusions of the International Election Observation Mission to yesterday's presidential election here in North Macedonia for the second round of the election. As many of you know, we've been here for several weeks, including announcing conclusions 2 weeks ago. This is an update on the latest procedures since that time. We will proceed in first taking statements from the heads of the various delegations that participated in this observation mission. Then there will be an opportunity for questions, and at the conclusion of the press conference we'll have the statement and a press release accompanying the statement available outside and on our websites. So without further ado, I will ask Ms. Irene Mobanya, who was appointed as Special Coordinator and Leader of the OSCE Short-Term Observer Mission, who's a Member of Parliament in France, to deliver the conclusion. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you to the Macedonian people for your continued warm welcome to our entire team of observers. The hospitality showed to us yesterday and during the first round is very much appreciated. Our statement today should be read in connection with our comments of 2 weeks ago. This was a well-administered runoff of the presidential election. Continued respect for fundamental freedoms allowed voters to make an informed choice between candidates. Shortcomings that we noted in the campaign rules were again evident in the second round. This reflects broader deficiencies in the electoral law. The transparency of campaign finance was diminished by incomplete reporting. I'm pleased to say that election day was smooth and key procedures were generally followed in a transparent manner. We provide greater details of the overall conclusions in our written statement, but I would like to highlight a few points. While the 30% turnout requirement was met in this election, it still creates the potential for cycles of repeat elections. This is just one of a number of concerns we have related to the election law, which doesn't not create the desired legal certainty we would typically look for. I would like to note the professional and impartial work of the election administration in this second round. We are pleased that it enjoyed public confidence. I would also like to say personal thank you to all election workers we met yesterday in polling stations who worked tirelessly throughout the day. In terms of the campaign itself, we remark that it took place in a calm and peaceful environment. I think it noteworthy that the candidates and parties made efforts to particularly reach out to ethnic Albanians and Roma, among whom the turnout had been notably low in the first round. This is encouraging. This election cycle has now been brought to a successful conclusion, with the voters freely able to choose between distinct choices. Yesterday's increased voter turnout shows determination by the population to unite and address the challenges facing this country. It's now up to political leadership to hear this message and undertake real reform that will replace the legal patchwork requiring constant political agreements with a coherent and sustainable electoral law. Thank you. I will now give an opportunity for my colleagues to add their thoughts on this joint effort.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you. sorry. Thank you, Ms. Mobogne. Puis je donne la parole à Marie-Christine Dalloz, chef de la délégation de l'Assemblée parlementaire du Conseil d'Europe, membre du Parlement français aussi. Merci.
Merci. Mesdames, Messieurs, merci de votre présence. La délégation de l'Assemblée parlementaire du Conseil de l'Europe a été invitée par les autorités de la République de Macédoine du Nord pour observer l'élection présidentielle parce que votre pays est sous la procédure de dialogue post-suivi à notre Assemblée. J'en profite pour remercier les autorités de Macédoine du Nord pour cette coopération. Notre Assemblée a observé toutes les élections parlementaires et présidentielle dans le pays depuis 1994. Nous avons observé le premier tour de l'élection présidentielle il y a 2 semaines. Notre délégation partage les conclusions préliminaires de cette mission internationale d'observation des élections qui ont été présentées par ma collègue Madame Sereine Mauborgne, coordinatrice spéciale de l'OSCE. Hier, les membres de notre délégation ont observé le scrutin à Skopje, à Tetovo, à Kumanovo et dans différentes régions du pays. Nous avons visité un nombre limité de bureaux de vote. Nous avons conclu que le scrutin d'hier a été bien organisé et les électeurs ont pu faire leur choix librement, comme lors du premier tour du scrutin. Mais vous le savez, une élection ne se limite pas au jour du scrutin uniquement. Notre délégation considère que certains problèmes récurrents du processus électoral restent non résolus. Premièrement, la nécessité d'effectuer une réforme complète du code électoral et d'une manière générale du système politique pour garantir l'adhésion des citoyens et leur participation active à l'élection, indépendamment de leurs origines ethniques. Deuxièmement, cette élection a montré qu'il faut renforcer la transparence et surtout le contrôle du financement de la campagne électorale. Enfin, je considère que la question de l'adhésion à l'Union européenne et à l'OTAN ne devrait pas occulter certains problèmes récurrents du processus électoral démocratique. L'Assemblée parlementaire et la Commission de Venise du Conseil de l'Europe sont prêtes à assister les autorités de Macédoine du Nord afin d'effectuer les réformes nécessaires. Je vais présenter le rapport final de l'observation de l'élection présidentielle en République de Macédoine du Nord à l'Assemblée parlementaire le 24 mai à Paris lors de la réunion de sa commission permanente. Je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Merci beaucoup. Then I will give the floor to Ms. Corinne Jonker, head of the Election Observation Mission deployed by the OSCE Office for Democratic Institution and Human Rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andreas. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you for coming to our joint press conference. The ODIHR Long-Term Election Observation Mission has now been here for close to 2 months, with a core team based in Skopje and with long-term observers throughout the country. Last week, we were joined by a large number of short-term observers and also our parliamentary partners, bringing our total up to some 170 observers for this second round. We are observing the election in North Macedonia to ensure it is run in line with international standards, as we always do at every observation we carry out. Just as I recommended, following the first round, the election day yesterday was well run. And not only that, but also calm and peaceful. Both election days show how much can be achieved when there is the will to work across the political spectrum and across ethnic communities. All candidates were able to campaign without hindrance, and we found that fundamental freedoms of assembly and expression were respected. At the same time, state officials made an effort to differentiate between their official and their political activities, and to avoid the use of state resources in the campaign. Our media monitoring found that the media presented diverse information on the candidates and the supporting political parties through numerous programs and debates with the candidates. The public broadcaster and most monitored media provided impartial coverage, providing voters with the opportunity to make an informed choice on election day. While there were several positive aspects, some, however, continue to remain. Election day is just one piece of the electoral mosaic. An important piece, surely, but still only one of many. That is why we have been looking carefully at the electoral process and the legal framework as a whole. We have seen that serious shortcomings remain. First and foremost is the urgency for electoral reforms. And on this point, I only can reiterate what my colleagues already have said. While the electoral law does allow for democratic election, regulatory gaps are evident in areas such as campaigning, including the political parties and candidates' media advertising, campaign finance, complaints and appeals, and voter registration. All too often in our statement, you will be able to read the words lack of clarity, ambiguity, detracted from legal certainty, the law does not specify, or, for example, the law is silent, to name but a few. Little, if anything, has changed about the structural discrepancies in the voter register. There is an undeveloped provision on paid media advertising. There is also a lack of clarity and enforcement of campaign finance reporting rules, a point on which I already elaborated after the first round. The right to file a complaint needs to be extended, and relevant information is often not published on institutional website or released into the public domain. It makes it difficult or sometimes impossible for voters to understand processes that they are fully entitled to know about, and which is indeed vital in a truly democratic system. Elements of the campaign were conducted purely on the basis of cross-party agreements. But private political promises cannot replace a good electoral law. Governing a state is more than party politics. Now, yesterday's election took place in the context of the country's international aspirations, and both the candidates and political parties clearly made an effort to ensure the elections were conducted well. But elections must be carried out according to international standards, whatever the circumstances are. Even the best legal framework will only work if the country's leaders are willing to implement it in the spirit of transparency and accountability. Only this will build and keep the trust of the citizens, which is, and now I repeat myself, so vital to democracy to flourish. North Macedonia has signed up, as all other OSCE participating states have done, to the commitments and obligations for democratic elections. And as I mentioned, after the first round of this presidential election, ODIHR has frequently stressed the need to finalize the electoral legislation reform. We stand ready to cooperate with the authorities in following up on our recommendations in this and also in other areas. I'll end my remarks here by thanking you all for your interest in our work. This election has been successfully concluded, and now it's time for genuine, inclusive electoral reforms, followed by consistent implementation that builds and keeps citizens' trust. This is crucial to ensure that the next elections are also a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As I mentioned at the outset, our statement and press release will be available shortly, but in case there are any remaining questions, we do have some time now. Down here, please. If you could please state your name and media source.
Марија Тумановска, Радио Слободна Европа. Вчера опозицијската партија ВМРО ДПМНЕ обвини за изборни нерегуларности и политички притисоци на неколку места гласачки во низ земјава. Како вие ги коментирате ваквите обвинувања и дали вашите наблюдувачи може би забележале вакви појави во текот на вчерашниот ден?
These accusations indeed also were brought to our information, and we were able to look at them and clarify indeed some and verify some. And we also know that the Minister of Interior will follow up. They already mentioned to do so. But apart from these accusations that were brought to our attention, also our mission was indeed able to personally, observe the vote buying. And you will also be able to read about it in our report.
Thank you. Any further questions? At the very back, please.
I'm Isaac Ramadani from the Voice of America. Have you encountered any family or proxy voting, as the opposition complains there were? And if you did, can you specify the areas? Thank you.
Yes, I can indeed confirm that there was family voting. Again, it's also stated in our report. And no, I'm not able, sorry, to confirm. But maybe more is mentioned, specified in our report, more detailed information. But I'm sorry, I cannot answer you now on that.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions? Very good. In that case, we will close the press conference, and the statement with all of the details that were mentioned should be available for you now. Thank you.